All right, Chevra, here we go. Nana, you good? Yes. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Brachas Daf Tez Zayin. We are continuing to learn the sugya that tells us about the koyach of Shema, about the koyach of Torah. We're going to start putting together the importance of saying Shema in the right time, obviously. There's a great importance on an employee to make sure that the time for which he's getting paid is time used for the employer. And how does that go together with some time to read the Shema at the time that I'm being paid per hour? How do I say the Shema? Are there certain approaches that I have to take that will allow me to say the Shema? But on the other hand, I won't be, so to say, wasting my employer's time. And we're going to learn a gavaldic difference between Shema and the Shemona Esrei in this regard. We will also be learning about various scenarios where Rabban Gamliel taught a certain din, but then he himself in practice did not abide by that din. And we're going to have to figure out why was that the case. We're going to have a lot of Agadata today. Ein Koren La'avis, Ein Koren Avis Elo L'Shloisha is going to be on Daf Tezayin. We're going to have a big part of davening today in the daf. It's very important for people when they daven Shemona Esrei for them, for he, she, to add their own private tefillah. Whether it is we add it in today in Shemaya Tefilla, whether we add something specifically about the bracha in that bracha, like if a person needs a bracha for parnasa, you can add that personal request at the right place in Baruch Aleinu, or the Fuah in the Fu'enu, generally in Shema Koilenu, or as many people do nowadays, we add our personal prayers, mamash, at the end of the Shemona Esrei. And we're going to be learning about various personal prayers that were added in the times of Chazal. Let us start on Daf Tez Vav Amid Beis, last line in the Amid. Right, the last thing we learned yesterday was that if a person enunciates all of the letters in the Shema clearly, then they cool the Gehenim off for that person. Maybe why is that connected to cooling off Gehenim? We just had on Daf Hey, the Gemara was speaking about different techniques that people should do, how to deal with the Yetzer Hara. So Lo'olam Yargiz Adam Yetzer Tov Al Yetzer Hara. Then we learned about, and if it works, good. And if it doesn't work, Yasik Batoira. If it doesn't work, read the Shema. So maybe we are learning also now in shiur chitas that if a person who's not a tzaddik, at least during the time of the Shema, during the time of davening, the animal soul then goes to sleep, becomes nullified. Now, it's still there. After the time of davening, after the time of saying the Shema, the animal soul becomes reawakened, but at least during that time, the person's animal is cooled off. So maybe that's the pshat, that when you read the Shema, and you take more time, so there's more time in which one's nefesh habahamis is batel, so therefore the Gehenim also becomes cooled off. And if that would be the case, if this is linked to what we learned on Daf Hey, so now the hemshech also makes sense. For Omar Rab Chama Berab Chanina, Lama Nismuchu Daf Tezayin Oy Holim Linacholim. Why do we find in the Torah that the Torah juxtaposes a oil, a tent, and as we will soon in a moment, tents refer to a holy Torah, to tents of Torah study, to Necholim, to brooks, right, to streams of water that are traveling. And where do we find this juxtaposition? Because it says, D'chsiv, in Balak, that he was praising the Jewish people, that we are, Kenechalim, Netoyu, we are stretching out, right, like brooks, Keganois, Alinohar, like gardens by a river, Ka'aholim Nata, like tents pitched, Vegoimar, so says Rabbi Chama Berab Chanina, that Loimer Lach, the Torah puts together an oil and a nachal to tell you, Manachalim. Just like brooks of water, Malin Esa Adam Mitumalatara, right? They bring purity to a person. Afoiholim, which is referring to the tents of Torah, Malin Esa Adam Mikav Choyvel Lekav Schus. They also, the pshat is they turn around something that was a chayv becomes a kav schus, which is the concept of hisapcha, which again, l'chura, that if learning Shema cools off, reading the Shema clearly cools off the Gehenim, that's the concept of a beinani, or the animal is still there, there's potential for sin, but it's cooled, so Torah has a greater koyach. Torah has the koyach to transform the animal into something holy. And once it's transformed, it's mamash gavalik, it's going mikav choiva lekav schos. Concept of mind, the concept of mikvah. The Gemara now is referring back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that if a person reads the Shema, the words out of order, out of sequence, the verses out of sequence, lo yatsa, and then the Mishnah says, and if a person makes a mistake, it's not enough just for you to add the verse that you skipped. No, because then you're reading it out of sequence. You have to go back to that verse, say it, and then continue from there. So says the Gemara, Rav Ami v'Rav Asi hava kokotrin le'genana l'Rav Elazar. Rav Ami and Rav Asi, now the word keter, ketoides, literally means a knot. But they were affixing, they were tying the chuppah for the wedding of Rav Elazar. This obviously is Rav Elazar the Amoira. There's Rav Elazar ben Shamua, the Tanach. And the Amoira is Rabbi Elazar ben Pedas, which is what we're talking about, because Rav Ami and Rav Asi are Amoiraim. So they were preparing his chuppah. And it was a saying, you put it up, you have 4 sticks, you put a talus on top. And Rabbi Elazar was there. Means he's about to get married. But by the time you tie the chuppah together, maybe some of the guests were not there yet. So what do you think he did? So Amar Lahu said Rabbi Elazar told Rav Ami and Rav Asi, Adohacha v'hacha, until you guys start my chuppah, let me go learn something. There was a base Midrash nearby. Ezel ve'eshma milsa devei Midrash. And he went, and then, don't worry, it's not selfish. I'm going to go learn. You guys finish preparing my chuppah, and I'll come back and I'll share with you. And va'aisi ve'ei malachu. I'll come back and I'll tell you what I heard in the base Midrash. That in itself is the biggest lesson. You're about to get married. There's a lot of tumult. Take an Uber with a shomer and go to yeshiva, learn, and come back when you're needed to be under the chuppah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Huh? Amazing. Oh, he's potter from Krishma, so he's not chayiv, he's not mechuyev, but he wanted to. He wanted to learn. And don't forget, when you say the Shema, you're saying God's name. And you're saying brachos. Here you're going to learn Torah. There's no downside. Azul, Ashkechei, Latana, the Katani Kamed Rabbi Yochanan. So he found a Tana that was standing. Obviously, again, it's not a Tana, it's a Tana teacher. It's an Amoida that knew all of the Tanoim by heart. And he was reading like this. The person is reading the Shema and he made a mistake. But he doesn't remember exactly where he made the mistake. Until what point was I reading it good and from where did I get tripped up? You don't remember. So you have to cover all your grounds. That means you have to go back to the beginning. Which is why, by the way, the Aleph, the Bach, adds the words Yachzor l'Rosh. If be'emtza perek, if you know that the error was in the middle of a paragraph, here again, Yachzor l'Rosh, then go back to the beginning of that paragraph. That's the way we're going to learn the Gersa. If you have no idea from where you made the mistake, go back to the beginning. Could be you made a mistake in the beginning. If you know you made it, you know for sure what paragraph, you know that V'hafta I read good. I made a mistake in V'haya. Then go back to the beginning of V'haya. Bein Pedek LePedek. If you know that you finished a paragraph, you just don't remember which paragraph you finished. Now the first paragraph is V'hafta. That means that you don't know whether you are up to V'haya or whether you're up to Vayomer. Again, so to cover all of the possibilities, you're always going to be machmer, so to say, Yachzor LePedek Kadishin. LePedek Kadishin doesn't mean Shema V'hafta. It means to the first of the options, to V'haya, not to Vayomer. Now what happens? Bein ksiva l'ksiva, you know you're up to Chsaftam Amuzuz's Beisecha, but you don't know which one, because Chsaftam is mamish the last pasuk in the first paragraph of the V'hafta. Uchsaftam is almost towards the end of V'haya. After Uchsaftam, you have Laman Yirbu. But you don't know which one you're up to, so then Yachzor l'ksiva harashoyna. Then you have to, again, you always have to be machmer. Well, you don't know which one, you got to say the Shema correctly, go back to the Uchsaftam from the first paragraph. That is what this Yid, who was called the Tana in front of Rabbi Yochanan and Amoira, but he was repeating this Tana. So he repeated this din. Rabbi Yochanan heard this din. So Amalei Rabbi Yochanan told the Tana teacher, I want to add a detail that was not spoken out in the era of the Tanoim. Lo yishanu When do you say that if the person is saying and they don't know which one it belongs to, taka, you have to assume that you're up to the first paragraph, and therefore after you finish those words, you have to go v'hoya. But that's only lishanu elo shaloi pasach b'laman yir b'yamechem. That's only if you didn't start the next phrase. Aval pasach b'laman yir b'yamechem. Imagine a person said uchsaftom. They weren't paying attention exactly. They already began saying laman yir b'yamechem. And then as you're saying these words, you begin to doubt yourself. Hold on. Am I saying the right words? Maybe uchsaftom was from the first paragraph. Maybe I should have continued v'hoya. I'm already in the middle of saying laman yirbu. Does your, so to say, unfocused saying laman yirbu prove that that is where you were up to? Because if you didn't begin that phrase and you have a doubt, then you have to be machmer. Maybe you were only up to the first paragraph. But once your mouth began to say laman yirbu, that in itself indicates that that is where you were up to. Because, when a person has habituated to say certain things every day, twice a day, at least twice a day, we can rely on that habit that we are going in the right sequence. That's what Rabbi Yochanan added. It's called sirche nakat va'asa. Sirche means his habit. We can assume that because of his habit, he is in the right place. You know where we find a very similar halacha? When it comes to changing over between, let's say, Moed Atal to Mashav Ruach HaMoed HaGeshem. And it's important to say the right, either to mention do or to mention the rain. And a person is saying the Shemona Esrei, and you're not certain whether you said it right or whether you said it wrong. You don't remember. You already said those words. You don't remember, did you say this, did you say that? So the thing is that within the first 30 days of the switchover, which is really we daven Shemona Esrei 3 times a day, so it's 90 days. Within the first 90 times, we have to assume that we said what we were familiar saying. Our habit was said, and that's not good. If I was supposed to say Moed Atal, and we're not supposed to mention rain when you're supposed to mention the dew, it means we just switched over to Moed Atal. When do we switch that over? On the first day of Pesach, on the middle of Chol Moed, or within 30 days. And I don't remember what I said. I was supposed to say Mashav Ruach HaMoed HaGeshem, right? I'm supposed to say Moed Atal. Okay, then by Pesach or Shmini Atzeres, then you say that if within 30 days, I have a habit. I said what I'm habituated to say. Here also, so if you didn't start saying Laman Yirbu, you're saying the Pasuk Uchsaftam, and you have a suffix where you're up to, then you have to be machmer. Go back to Uchsaftam. You have to presume the Uchsaftam is from the first paragraph. But if you started to say Laman Yirbu, not that you said it with kavana, your mouth is saying it. You began to say Laman Yirbu, that is an indication that taka, you were already up to there. This is what Rabbi Yochanan said. So Asev Amar Lahu, so that the chassan, Rabbi Lazar, he came back to his chassan, and he told Rav Ami and Avasi what he heard. So Amru Lei, so they told the chassan, they told Rabbi Lazar, Ilu leibanu elo l'shmaya davar zeh, if we only would have come here, not to go to your wedding, to hear this Dvar Torah of Rabbi Yochanan, Dayenu, it would have been enough. And maybe, it's interesting that the lashon of the Gemara is that Rav Ami and Avasi were kokatrin le ginana. Ginana means a chuppah. Ketira means a knot. You should know that al pi Kabbalah, a knot is a school for memory. And that's the way we explain the knots of the tzitzis, laman tizkeru, the knots of the tefillin. That means people, even when people wanted to remember something, they would make an effort to remember it while they tied a knot. Tying a knot, begashmi, was one of the ways that you knotted into your mind, so to say. And maybe he was telling them that repeating something many times, that's the best school for memory. You want to remember what you're learning, learn it again, and learn it again, and learn it again. Don't tie knots, machnishkan schoolers, chazer, do it again, get habituated. Because you see in this din that if by the fact that you repeat the Shema so many times, you can trust your own memory. Your mind is like on cruise control. And we do this every day. We do certain activities and not even paying attention. Because since you did it so many times, you're following the right sequence. Alama, it's only for things that you continue to do. Okay. Moving on to the next Mishnah. Again, we learned from Yaakov Avinu by the fact that when he told Lavan at the end that I didn't sleep days, genufti yom v'genufti laila, he teaches us work ethic. Now, what we're saying now obviously doesn't apply to a case where it's the law of the land or the meaning of the land that people in America, they take a coffee break and a lunch break, and there's many allowed breaks. If that's the minig hamakim, that's okay. But if there's no minig hamakim and you're paying me, whether it is per hour, per day, per month, the time that I am employed by you, my time doesn't belong to me. My time belongs to the employer. So I'm hired to work, and now comes the time to say the Shema. Well, I got to say the Shema, but I have to say it in a way that I sort of say that I use the least amount of time, because more than that, I'm stealing the time from my employer. Remember Rabbi Gordon Olav Shalom always used to tell me that my time, that's his time, doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the rebbe. His time is not his time. That's the emes of all of us. Our time is not our time. But when it comes to working for someone who's paying you per hour, day, or month, now, hakol keminik hamadina. People in America are very lenient when it comes to this. And a lot of that is kosher because this is the norm. If an office has a coffee room, that means that the balabas is masking that you should take a break and drink coffee. That's okay. But if you don't have such an agreement, then we can't steal the time of the employer. So says the Mishnah. Ha'umanim. Ha'uman means a craftsman, right? A professional. But many people say that this Mishnah is not connected to you being a craftsman. Many people have the girsa payalin, any work. Koren Publisher, if they are working on top of a tree, yeah, they got to read the Shema. But to go down and to read it and to go back up, that time is stealing. Read it while you are on top of the tree. Or if you're working Bereish HaNidbach on top of a brick wall, a stone wall, don't go down from the wall, stay on top of the wall. Now, there's a chiddush here. Because you can argue that something that demands kavana, and there's many levels to kavana. Maybe you can have better kavana when you're on the ground. And that should justify you going down, because if being on top of this high place will halachically invalidate the Shema, because there was so little kavana, you're thinking about not falling, then there's no point staying on top of the tree. You got to say the Shema. But for saying the Shema, you could say it on top of the tree, even though you are worried not to fall. But not for davening. Davening means Shmoina Esrei. For Shmoina Esrei, the worker has to go down. For Shema, he's not allowed to go down. Why? What's the difference? So Rashi explains, I'm reading inside the Rashi in the Mishnah, that Tzeloisa, my friends, means davening, since Rachmehi, Uboye Kavana, Hilkach Ein Mispal Meroisha Ilan Meroisha Nidbach. Why, says Rashi, the mistafe, that the person is going to be imbued with fear. What's the fear when you are standing on something tall? Dilma Nafli. Maybe you're going to fall. Because on top of a tree, on top of a wall, I mean, you're standing there, but you take one step off, you're gonna fall down. And the last line in Rashi in the Mishnah, umachmas bi asusa, and because of your fear, loy matzi machavni, you can't have kavana. So let me ask you, so how is Shema different? Al pi nigla, I don't know the right words. Al pi chassidus, we have the right words. We just learned the Shabbos, the Maimer. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. And it's a gewaldige concept that I want to get close to God. So there's a relationship. But I exist. There's me and God. I love God. I am in awe of God. I rejoice being one with God. All of that is Shema. There's Yira, there's Kabbalah Soil, there's V'ahavta, all the good Zachen. Then the Chassidus says, Yehuda, they think, how can there be a greater ruchnistic experience for someone who has Avos Hashem, has Yiras Hashem, and has mamish tainug of being one with God? What is greater than that? What is greater than that is stop feeling oneself. That there's such a tremendous level of bittul. There's no experience because I am out of the equation. So when a person is saying Shema and the goal is I have to be makabel oil, I have to love God, I'm also afraid. The fear of being Bereisha Ilan doesn't take away my ability of loving God. But if I have to reach a level where I cannot exist, how can you have bittul b'mitzias if you are afraid to fall? Or it's your self-awareness of I cannot fall. That contradicts the level of bittul you have to have during Shemona Esrei. Mamash fits. Okay, back in the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Hassan pater mikriya Shema. We had this before. Hassan is exempt of reading the Shema from when we're speaking dafkas, a Hassan who's marrying a psula. And as we learned in Ksubis, that when do you marry a psula? On Wednesday night. Why did we marry on Wednesday night? First of all, we wanted to marry the night before the Beis Din is open. And number two, you can't marry too close to Shabbos because you need time to prepare food. They didn't have refrigeration to start preparing the food before Shabbos and to refrigerate it. So from the first night, Ava'ad Motzoi Shabbos, now that we know that people got married Wednesday night when they married a virgin, so now we're talking about 4 nights. When do you have a 4-night exemption? And we learned that all in Nida. Or a whole 4-day and night exemption, that's only if the person did not yet do the act. The person did not do the Be'ilas Mitzvah. And why are they exempt? Is because the preoccupation, whether I'll be able to properly consummate the marriage or not, distracts you, doesn't allow you to have the right kavanah when you say the Shema. And being that this is called a tirdas mitzvah, ha'isik mitzvah, pater ben mitzvah. But if a man, as one has to, you get married, you have to have a be'ilas mitzvah that night. Once the person was boil, then they have to say the Shema. But until they have the first be'ilah, if it's 4 days, then they are exempt. And if a person did not have be'ilas mitzvah and it's beyond 4 days, by then they're not that preoccupied. Which time does what nothing else does. The worry is diminished, they can have kavanah. So is the din in the Mishnah. Now comes a Maisa. Umaisa b'Rabban Gamliel. Shenasa Isha, that he married a woman that was never married before a psula. And you know what he did? The night of his wedding, he read the Shema, v'kara layla harishayna. Amr loy talmidav. So his students tell the teacher, and this is a rule of kibbud avaim, of kibbud rebbe, that if one sees a parent or a rebbe doing something that appears not to be according to halacha, you're not allowed to tell your parent, your rebbe, you're doing wrong. I can tell this to my chavit. What you tell your rebbe is, did you not teach us otherwise? It's a much more respectful way of challenging. So they told him, Limadatonu Rabbeinu, the rebbe taught us that Shehachassan pater mikriya Shema. And how are you reading the Shema? They didn't say those words, but that's what we learned. So Amar Lohen responds to Rabban Gamliel, Eini Shemei Alachem, I am not going to listen to you. Levatel heimenu malchus shemayim afilu sha'achas. To not have malchus shemayim even for 1 moment. Wow. Says the fourth tosfot in the Amid, Maisa ben Rabban Gamliel shenasa isha v'kara krishma b'layla rishayna lav maisa listoiru. It's not that the Mishnah is bringing a story that contradicts the halacha. The opposite. The Mishnah brings a story de komash malan that im gadolhu ubiteach ba'atzmai sheyuchal ischaven. It's not that they made a gzeira you can't do something. When Chazal make a gzeira, even if the reason for the gzeira doesn't exist, their gzeira stands. Which is why we are so careful by cholav akim. Chazal said not to have cholav, right? That it wasn't a Yisrael re'eyo. Even if the reason is not applicable, you're not allowed to have it. Midrabanan. So we paskin. Here, it's not that way. Here, the pshat is that don't say Shema if you can't have kavanah. Which means that if you could have kavanah, so then you are allowed to say the Shema. Gavaldik. Says the Gemara. Tana Rabbanan. Hu'umanim, whether it's hu'umanim, or whether it is, and just to know, if it's umanim means you are a professional. Maybe that's a professional who b'chlal works the whole time on top of trees. They have less fear. They don't daven Shemona Esrei. Maybe someone like me, you never did that before, maybe you can go down off the tree. If the girsa is hu'umanim. If the girsa is poyalim, it means any worker. Whether you're a pro or not. Shema, you stay on top. And let's go further. What did we learn in our Mishnah? That when it comes to Shemona Esrei, you go down. Here, the Braisa gives another nuance. It depends what type of tree. Makes so much sense. There are certain trees that are so branched out. There's so many branches that you feel a lot more secure. What 2 trees are filled with branches? Rosh Hazayis. Here in LA, a lot of olive trees. It's filled with branches. Uberosh Hate'ena, a fig tree. There you may even say the Shemona Esrei. However, all other trees, you have to go down to daven Shemona Esrei. Shema, you stay on top. Shemona Esrei, you go down. When do we say this? When we're speaking about the worker. So why, and what's the whole issue? Because saying Shema and Tefilla B'Kavana is going against another value. Don't waste the time of the employer. But if you are the balabas, even though you want to work, you also don't want to waste your own time. No. You got to go down. Ubalabayis, benkach ubenkach yored lamato mispalu. For Shemona Esrei, he goes down even if he's on a fig tree, even if he's on a olive tree. Why? Because even on those trees, lefisha ein datoi miyusheves olav, he's not as calm as he should be. And again, the level of bittul you have to experience during Shemona Esrei, which theoretically bittul b'metzias, if you have any self-awareness, you're going against that kavanah. By Shema you don't need that. By Shemona Esrei you need that. So here,
this goes on in the exercise,
balabais. There's different levels of that. Okay. Now, Rami lay Rav Mari, Bra the Bashmuel. We're going to have this many times. Whenever we quote an Amoira, normally bend the father. If the father is not Jewish, you can go bend the mother. Here it's very unusual. Rami, look at, is the son of the daughter of Shmuel. What was his father's name? So here Rashi tells us, in Ksubas we learned that the daughters of Shmuel were kidnapped. And while one daughter, this is Rachel, was kidnapped, she got raped. And the man who raped her later converted and married her. His name was Isur. So since I'm saying it now just to know what Rashi says, but not to speak about this Maisa, so instead of, sometimes they actually call him, sometimes the Gemara quotes him. Later he became a big man. But since that Mari was conceived by such an act, so we don't speak about the father here. And we don't even mention the name of the mother. So I apologize to the mother. I'm just saying what we're going to learn here. Every now and then you put the pieces together. So Rav Mari, who's the son of the daughter, Yechap, of Shmuel, that what? He asked to Rava, Tanach says in our Mishnah, that Shema is read, Alma, we see, loy baya kavana. Now, what he understood, my friends, is that Rashi says, Rashi is Gavaldik, Rashi is the greatest teacher, is that Shema could be read even while you're working. He understood that in the Mishnah. It's not only do you not have to get down, but as you're working, you can say the Shema. That he couldn't. That's too much. Says V'demina, there's a baraisa. Hakoyre Shema tzarich sheyichav eslibay. Shneamar Shema Yisrael. Shema means to pay attention. And furthermore, lahalanu oimer. We just quoted this pasuk. A pasuk in Parshas Kisavai, where the Torah uses the words haskes. Haskes means be attentive. How can you be attentive when you're working? Haskes u'shma Yisrael. Now, true, we learned above that if you lost your kavana and mitamol, you're in the middle of saying Laman Yirbu, we just had this. You can, in the stomach from habit, you said all the words until there. You're davening Shemona Esrei, or you're davening the Shema. And all of it, you checked out, and when you check back in, you're 2 pages later. You can assume you said the right words, but that's not the way we're supposed to read the Shema. Haskes. Malahalan in kisavai. Haskes means to be attentive. Every time you say the Shema, you have to be attentive. So how can you say the Shema while you're working? That's the way he understood the Mishnah. So Rava didn't answer. Rava was quiet. No, Rava was great. Rava didn't know the answer. Rava asked Rav Mari, maybe you know the answer. Amalei, midi shmi alach baha, maybe you heard something. Amalei hachi. I said, yeah, I heard the pshat in the Mishnah. That Amar Rav Sheshes clarified our Mishnah. Guys, Rava didn't know it. Not that we knew it. We knew it because we read the Gemara ahead already. Because when you read the Mishnah, it sounds like if you know how to read a Mishnah, you don't have to stop working. Rav Sheshes was machadish that no. The Mishnah is only telling you don't have to go off the tree. But you have to stop. For who batlane mimelachton v'koyren. They have to stop. Has to be a bittul malach. Frek the Gemara v'hatanya. We learned above on daf yud aleph b'shamay oimrim that oiskim b'malachton v'koyren. That b'shamay says, I'm sorry, thinking. No, b'shamay says you got to lay down for the night. You got to stand up for the morning. Beis Hillel says do what you're doing. But they also use the expression oiskim b'malachton, which is also mashma that while you're working you can read the Shema. Says the Gemara, yeah, loy kasha. When did Rav Sheshes here clarify our Mishnah? You have to stop. That's only b'peirik rishayin. And when did Beis Hillel Taka say that while you are being oisik b'malach, then you can read the Shema? That's b'peidik sheni. Now, we didn't speak about it enough, but just to say that there's a big machlekes rishonim throughout this whole sugya, how much of the Shema needs to be recited midoraisa. Basically, you have the shita that only Shema Yisrael is midoraisa, everything else is midrabanan. You have another shita which is the Rabbeinu Yoina, that Shema v'yahavta is midoraisa, and if you said that, you're yoitza. For example, in our davening by korbanos, what do we have in the korbanos? We have Shema v'yahavta. Why not the whole thing? According to many Rishonim, we say korbanos early, right? And we are taught to learn a lot of chassidus and to daven, and therefore davening can be a little bit later. So at least I said the Shema. So why didn't you say the whole Shema? In the Siddur, Shema v'yahavta is the mitzvah midoraisa. The Rabbeinu Yonah brings that eye from our Gemara. Peirik Rishon, you have to stop working. Peirik Sheni, you are allowed to work. That's his proof that v'haya onwards is only midrabanan. Now, other Rishonim learn otherwise, and therefore they might learn the Gemara differently. V'chulei. Tana Rabbanan. Hapoyalim, how you have, see, not hu umanim, hapoyalim. Any worker. Shahaya oisim malacha etzel balabayis, that they're working for a employer. Let's go more details. Not only do they read the Shema, even though when they're reading the Shema, we just said they stop, but umevarchim lefanel v'lacharel. They make the berachos before and afterwards. And v'oichlin pitam, when they eat, they eat mavarchim lefanel. They make hamoitzi before ula acharel. They make the whole birchas hamazon afterwards. And when they daven Shmona Esrei, they daven the entire Shmona Esrei. Avol, what may a employee not do bisman of his work? In yordem lifnei hatevi, cannot daven for the amid, because that takes up more time. That takes up more time. That much time he can't waste. It's not his time. Even if he's a kohen, he's not allowed to duchen. Now there's many dinim. If you are a kohen and you are in the Beis HaKnesses, you cannot not duchen. Got to walk out with all the dinim. But if you are an employee, you can't. That's not the time for you to duchen. Huh? The Brisa says that when it comes to a certain point in the Shemona Esrei, you got to walk outside. Daven with the minyan, but during the silent Shemona Esrei, then walk outside. We learned in another Brisa that an employee should only daven me'ein yudches. We don't have me'ein yudches in our siddur, but we're going to have this later in the Masechta. There's a bracha called Havinenu, Tefilla Ketzara, that abbreviates the middle 12, 13 brachas. If you are an employee, only say Havinenu. Answers the Gemara Amar Rav Sheshes. No, loy kashem. Har Rabban Gamliel. Which Brisa says you got to say the whole Shemona Esrei? That goes according to Rabbi Gamliel. Ha Rabbi Yeshua. And like Rashi tells us the two final narrow lines, we're going to learn later on Daf Chav Ches Machloikes Tanoim. Whether Bechlal you have to say the whole Shemona Esrei. Rabban Gamliel says yes. Rabbi Yeshua says not an employee. Stam. If you want, you can say Havinenu. But every person is allowed to say Havinenu. The Tana says an employee is mechuyev to say Havinenu, not to waste the time that doesn't belong to him. If the Gemara, hold on, eat Rabbi Yeshua, then my eat your payalim. Afilu kol adam nami. It's even though Tosfot says kol adam reshus and payalim chayva, it's still pshita. Answers the Gemara, no. In other words, all of these Tanoim follow the shita that normally, like we paskin. Can't say Havinenu. You got to daven the whole Shemona Esrei. Elo loikasha kan. There was a phenomena that people worked. Their whole salary was only the meals that they were given. If a person is only getting paid food for their salary, then the balabai, since he's paying them less, understands that their time is not so gung-ho bound to the employer. And therefore, they can daven the whole Shemona Esrei. If a person is not only getting food, but he's getting money, then he may not even take that time from the work. Then he has to daven the me'ein yudches. Kan ba'oisen b'scharan. Scharan means not only are you getting food, you're also getting money, and therefore you're more meshubed to the employer. Kan. If you are only b'su'udasan, then he has to understand that he can give you the other couple of moments. Oh, these employees, did they daven Shemona Esrei? Oh, it took them 20 minutes. Damn, good kedavit. Yeah, but they're allowed to do that. And v'hatanya is ben yichusa. Hapoyalim shehoyo oisin b'lacha etzel balabayis. Koren kriya shema umispalin. Umispalin means, we'll see right here, havinenu. They got to daven the short. V'oichlan pitam, when they eat, you can eat. But ve'ein bevarchem lefaneha. They don't make hamoitzi. Why not? Rashi says, because birchas hanehenin is only midrabanan. How long does it take to say hamoitzi? Don't do that. You're taking the time from your employer. Aval mevarchem lacher ashtayim. But birchas hamazon is midoiraisa. But midoiraisa, how many brachas do we have in birchas hamazon, my friends? Who knows? So don't think about the fourth that was added many years later. The main are the three brachas. The first one, Moshe Tikkun. The second one was Yeshua, right? And then the third one was David and Shlomo. That ends with Uvenei Yerushalayim and HaKodesh, and we say the word Amen to be mafsik between the three and the final fourth. So the three are midoiraisa, but they don't even say the entire three. They make those three into two, even though it's midoiraisa. Keitzad bracha rishoina kitikuna. The first bracha of Hazanas HaKoil, the one that was written by Moshe Rabbeinu, that they have to say the way we have it. But Shniya, the second bracha, they begin the way we begin, speaking about the gift of the land of Israel. In that second bracha, they are koilol b'nei Yerushalayim bebirchas haaretz, right? Or the version of the last Tosfos in the Amud is v'choisem bebirchas haaretz. So asks Tosfos, hold on, I get it. Rashi says they don't say hamoitzi because hamoitzi is birchas hanehenen. Bracha before you eat is midrabanan. But if birchas hamazon is midoiraisa, how can they change the final bracha? Asks Tosfos. So Tosfos answers, Yesh koyach b'yad chachamim la'akar davin min ha'Torah. Even that, the chachamim have a power to tell you not to do a din doiraisa. Here they're not telling you not to do it at all. Here they're modifying it. Why are they doing it? Because you are working for an employer. Your time doesn't belong to you. So everyone asks on Tosfos, Birchas Hamazon is midoiraisa, but God did not write the text. Who wrote the text? Yeshua, David and Shlomo. So what's the Tosfos' kasha? Is a raya, my friends, that when God says to do something, even if the specifics of how we do it was given to us through the Chachamim, now that they gave it, it has a din de oiraisa. It's not like halal or they made a takana to do something. You got to celebrate Purim. That's a drabanan. Hashem says ve'achalt v'savot v'erach. Elama, Hashem did not write a nusach. The Chachamim wrote a nusach. When the Chachamim write a nusach, this becomes the way we keep a din de oiraisa. And the only justification to modify it is because the Chachamim have a koyach la'akar daven min ha'Torah. Wow. Back in the Gemara. That they make a abbreviated Shmona Esrei, that they abbreviate Birchas Hamazon, that's only ba'oisim b'schar. And that's when you have an employee, not only is he getting food from the balabas, he's also getting money as wages. There, his time has to be more used for the employer. But if the only salary he's getting is giving him food, even if he's getting liters, mamish gavaldik, but he's not getting money. Or shahaya balabais meisiv imam, the balabas was eating with them. If the employer eats with the employee, then you have more. Listen, when the balabas got up, you got to get up. But during that time, he's benching. He has to bench. You bench with him. If we live with the Eibishter, then there's more leeway. Sounds like a catch-22. We don't want more leeway if we're living with the Eibishter. And we said for the first 4 nights. Now we're going to have a chazara of a gemara that we learned on daf Yud Aleph. It's for sure written here for a reason. It's not there has to be some chidush here, even though the gemara is going to write a chulei. But let's review. What's the whole din? Says the Gemara Tanach we learned in a Brais that when it says in the Shema b'shiftecha, when you lay down in your house, from that we learn prat that if a person is oisik b'mitzvah, the partam in a mitzvah. Now the first b'shiftecha b'veisecha is when you're doing a mitzvah, ma'isa ha-mitzvah, uvelech v'chavad derech comes to teach you that a Hassan is exempt from reciting the Shema, and like we read out the Rashi and Daf Yud Aleph, even though the Hassan is not doing the mitzvah when he's saying the Shema, but he's b'machshava, preoccupied with tirdas mitzvah. That also exempts you from the Shema. Mikan omru hakoines as apsula. That is where the tird exists. You're potted. It's only the esho almana. There again, the preoccupation is about consummating the be'ilas mitzvah. That preoccupation is only if the kala is a psula. So almana chayiv. Now, my mashma, how do we learn from this that oisek mitzvah patik min mitzvah amarav papa? Because since it says vaderech, so the presumption is I'm walking on my way. Reshus only when I'm on my derech, then I have to recite the Shema. Ki derech ma derech reshus afach inami reshus. If I'm walking on a derech mitzvah, I'm exempt. How do you learn that from baderech? Mi lo yaskinon fakert. Uvelach vaderech means you're going on a way to do a mitzvah. The Torah doesn't write this, the Torah doesn't write that. It's how you read into the Torah. The cause of the dvar mitzvah. Hachinami amarachmana likrei. Fakert. Even a yid is going the whole time to do a mitzvah. My rebbe told me, how do you know Yaakov went with the yarmulke? So it's a Yaakov. Yaakov is gegangen. If Yaakov went, of course he went with the yarmulke. Say derech. Derech doesn't say this. Derech doesn't say that. Derech means he went for a mitzvah. So it should be the opposite. Even when you're going for a mitzvah, you're mechuyev to say. So no. Im kein leimukra beleches. The word is not. It's not from the baderech. It's from ubelechtecha. Why cha? When you're going, the yours. Shmamino beleches didach hu de mechayaft. Which implies the mitzvah b'tiras you are exempt from reciting the Shema daf tezayin on the base. Iyachi yerbazoi my idio koines es apsula afilu koines es almana nami. Because there is a mitzvah there. What's the mitzvah? Machlekes rishonim. You should know whether there's a mitzvah to be married, whether there's a mitzvah to have children, and being that God only allows us to have children in marriage, so marriage is like a hechsher mitzvah, but a hechsher mitzvah is oichet mitzvah. Like we spoke about yesterday about chinuch katan, that sikha that we quoted from Chelik Yud Zayin, Kadoshim Dalid, the same concept. A mitzvah is a mitzvah. Since you can only do a mitzvah if you get ready for the mitzvah, so the chashivus of the mitzvah carries over to the hechsher mitzvah. Even if you hold that marriage itself is not a mitzvah, still the Gemara says, but it's still considered as a hechsher mitzvah, ha'oisik b'mitzvah, patim en a mitzvah. So the Gemara clarifies it's not enough for you to be doing a mitzvah. You have to be preoccupied with the mitzvah. If you're not preoccupied, when you're wearing your talis and your tefillin, what, you're exempt from all the other mitzvahs? No, because it doesn't preoccupy you.
So this whole idea of kol the mitzvah, is it only by marriage or
Like any mitzvah.
So where's that line?
Tirda, preoccupation. Preoccupation means there's a certain pressure on you.
Are there other right.
The other example would be when I'm in the middle of Hashavas Aveda, focused on Hashavas Aveda, and a poor person comes to me to ask me for a few dollars, I don't have to give him money. Yeah. That was the whole sugya, whether someone was being Meishav Aveda, is he a Shem Esachar or Shem Echina? So Rabbi Yosef says he's a Shem Esachar. Why is he a Shem Esachar? Because at that moment, if someone's going to ask you for a donation, you don't have to give him money. Because Isaac was part of a mitzvah, then you're a gavaldik Shem Esachar. Okay. Hachi nami. So the Gemara says no. Hachi. 1 second. Hachi tarid. That's the answer. Hachi loy tarid. When you're marrying a psula, you're preoccupied. You have a worry. When you're marrying almana, you have no worry. Mishum tirda. If it's about worry, hold on. Then afilu tavas vinase bayam. If someone's stocks are going down, or bismanehem, the ship itself was going down, person is preoccupied. And if you're going to tell me that you're exempt, you're not exempt. Alama, why did we learn that Amar Abba Bar Zavda, Amar Rav, Avel, who's also preoccupied, he's chayv in all the mitzvahs that are written in the Torah. With one exception, chutz min tefillin, shaharei nemar bahen, because since tefillin is called your beauty, your glory, your pe'er, and this is when Hashem is telling Yecheskel what he should do, even though he was foretold that his wife is going to pass away, he should do that which the rest of us may not do. So Hashem told him, pe'er chachava sholecha. So since the Torah calls tefillin pe'er, that is why an oval, and today it goes to an oinen, and at least not befaresya, doesn't wear tefillin, but coming back generally during the Shiva, an oinen davens. I over there, he's tarud. So answers the Gemara, Hassan.
They didn't give an answer of
Yeah, but forget about Pe'er. Why is he chayv in all the other mitzvahs if he's tarut? So the Gemara says, Hassan tirda de reshus. If a person's boat is sinking, he's preoccupied with reshus. If a person is a novel, we read out the rashi on Sukkah Chaf Aleph. It's a gavaldik rashi that dinei avelus is in behavior. It's not a chayvus alavavus. You got to behave as a mourner. You can't wear leather shoes. You can't anoint yourself. You got to sit on a low stool. But there is no eina chayev litztayer. The tzar of a novel is not a mitzvah. It's reshus. So the preoccupation that's not a mitzvah doesn't exempt you. When are we exempt? Either if you're doing a mitzvah, or even if you only are preoccupied b'machshava with a mitzvah. By a psula, you're preoccupied with a mitzvah. Mitzvah, first of all, by aninos, you are exempt from many mitzvahs. We're speaking about avelus. No. Avelus is midrabanan. First of all, avelus, the behaviors of avelus is a mitzvah. The preoccupation is not a mitzvah. That's the word. That's a big chiddush. That there's no mitzvah to be sad, to be in pain during avelus. We just like the Rebbe told a big tzaddik. The Rebbe sent a message to that the Yid was a tzaddik that he should know that since avelus is a mitzvah, if do a Hashem b'simcha, even goes on avelus. That person needed to hear that, but in other words, the mitzvah is not to be bitzad. It's amazing. Let's move on to the next Mishnah. So we had before that Rabban Gamliel, he got married and he read the Shema because he was able to have kavanah. Another similar story. Rachatz Laila Harisha in Shemeisa Ishtoi. Rabban Gamliel's wife, many years later, passed away. Or maybe the story happened before and he was married twice. Who knows? And he took a bath. So Amar Loi Talmidav, again, you can't tell your Rebbe you're doing wrong. You tell your Rebbe, we learned so and so. That limadotonu Rabbeinu, the master, the Rebbe taught us that an ovel is not allowed to bathe. So Amar Lohem, so he responds to his Talmidim, Eini kishar b'nei Adam. I am not like most people. Istenesani, I'm delicate. In other words, the isur of bathing, it's asur for me to have the pleasure of bathing. I can't have pleasure, but nowhere am I mechuyev to have pain. I'm not mechuyev to have pain. Can covet dafech nicht, can bizyoyne zuchech nicht. No, you can't have the positive, but you don't have to have the negative. And if a person is very delicate and they are in tsar, then you're only bathing to get rid of the tsar, not to have the uncomfort, not to have the that's okay. Another story. When his servant Tavi passed away, this was a Evet Kanani, Kibil, all of Tanchumin. It's right after a person is buried. You're in the cemetery. People gather around the relatives. We're going to learn about the shura in a moment. And they offer words of condolences. Right? Minik Ashkenaz is Hamakim Menachem Eschem. So he accepted those words. Again, they challenged him. That if someone's Evet Kanani passed away, Dafke don't receive words of condolences. Why? It's so important for us to know Yichus, as we'll learn a lot in Kedushin. Evet Kanani is not a full-fledged Yid. If you receive Divrei Tanchumim for an Evet Kanani, an observer might think that person was a bona fide Jew, and therefore his children that are Avadim are going to be given the Yichus of a Bnei Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and that should not happen. So Amar Lohen, so again responds Rabban Gamliel, Ein Tavi Avdi Kishara Avadim. He was kosher. People might confuse him with a bona fide Yichus Dikayid. So there's a balance that we're doing over here. People know that he's an Evet. You're afraid that maybe an observer might not know that. Okay, that's one worry. If a kosher, let's go, a Yid is kosher, the Evet here was kosher, somebody Shayim say he was very learned. So you're honoring not the slave, you are honoring the Torah in him. That's a chiyuv, to give kavod to Torah. So one, to balance the other, Rav Gamliel felt that if there's enough Torah in the Evet, that trumps the obligation to be mechaber Torah trumps the isur, the worry of maybe someone will think that he is a meyuchas. Weiter says the Mishnah, Hassan, im rotza likres kriyash ma'alayla rishon koira. However, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, no, loy kol haroitza litel es Hashem yitoil. Oy gewalt. What does that mean? What does that mean? So let's skip ahead just for a moment, and we're going to learn what we'll learn, God willing, tomorrow. Look inside Daf Yud Zayin Amud Beis. Daf Yud Zayin Amud Beis, 12 lines, it looks like, or something like that, from the top of the Amud, right before the end of the second Perek. Says Rashi, loy kol haroitza, this Rashi is shaykh b'Mishnah. Im loy huchzak chacham v'chasid l'rabim. If the person is not known to be a chacham and a chassid, ein ze ela gaiva, shemara ba'atzmoi, sheyachal l'chaven liboy. In other words, the concept of mechsa kiyuhara. If no one does it, you doing it, you're showing off, unless you are known to be a chacham and a chassid. That's why I just mentioned that. I know that Rebbe told my father when he was an oinen for his father, he wasn't an oinen, but before that he was an oinen with the rabbanon, that he should put on tefillin b'tzino. You do it b'tzino. You can't just. Gewaldig. Very good. Says the Gemara. My Tama the Rabban Gamliel. He holds that Aninos. Hold on. If we're speaking about bathing, he bathed. Why? What justified bathing? He holds Aninos Lailo de Rabbanan Midai Raisa and Oinen, which is the highest level of mourning, is during the day of the passing. Then even after the burial, according to many, until night there's still Aninos. But the night after the burial, the night after the passing, it's called Aninus de Rabbanan. Today we say Aninus de Rabbanan is only if the burial didn't happen yet. It's only rabbinic, as it says, the first medium-sized line, Va'acharisa, that what's going to be the end is like a bitter day, speaking about passing, about death, but Kiyoim Mar, so the bitterness is during the day. The night after the day is already only Midar Rabbanan, Ubemakim Istinis, Loigazru Be Rabbanan. Clarifies the second to last Tosfos. Gavaldik word. He says like this: even if Aninus is midoiraisa, the Aninus midoiraisa doesn't say you can't bathe. The Chachamim said it. The midoiraisa dika Aninus that we know from the Torah, what can an oinen not do? Lo yachalti va'oini mimenu. When a person is an oinen, they cannot eat ma'aser sheni, and they for sure cannot eat kosher. But bathing they could. Bathing, the isur echitz is only midrabanan. So why does the Gemara have to say Aninus Laila de Rabbanan? Even if Aninus Laila would be Midoy Raisa, bathing is only an Isra de Rabbanan. So here again Tosfos says that if it would be during a time where there is Aninus Midoy Raisa, even though the expression of that Aninus by not bathing is only a rabbinic, it would have the Koyach of a Midoy Raisa. Like we learned by Berachot. Since the mourning itself is only Midrabanan, so here you can say that rabbizajac, you can be very lenient, which he was lenient. And he understood that not bathing, the issue of bathing is on oinen and an oval. An oval may not do things that are of pleasure. Only basic necessities. But flip it, but if not bathing means I'll be in tsar, you're not mechuyev to be in tsar. Right. We learned in the Braisa, avadim ushvacha is more details that if a person lost his or her eved or shifcha, Ein oimdim aleim b'shura. The shura is now after burial in the Beis HaChaim. After the burial is when the avelim have to take off their shoes, and you make two lines. Today the minhag is that the avelim walk in between the men by the men, and b'chlal by the women. You should, God forbid, not make two lines, because after a burial there's a big sakana for people to encounter a woman. We'll get to that later. Which is why most fruma people, b'chlal, to a burial, women don't go. You know, in Yerushalayim, when my father was interred, they didn't allow my mother, my sisters to be nearby. Because there's a sakana. But anyways, let's go. A man is there, you bury. The man walks in between two lines. That's the minhag today. And when the man is walking in between the two lines, the people say, Hamakim Menachem Esem. Sounds like from Rashi that then it wasn't that he walked between them. People gather around the mourners and they begin to offer them words of nechumim. Before the burial, you don't offer a person nechumim. The Pirkei Avos says, right? So, but you don't make a shura if the person who passed was an eved or a shivcha. Birchas Avelim is that the first meal after the burial, which is called Sudas Havra'ah, the meal that makes you healthy, since people, when they're very sad, by nature, they don't have an appetite, you give them food. And it's an inyan that it should not be their own food, it should be other people's food. We have a minute to give an egg. They used to eat it out there in the street. So they call this, Rashi calls this bracha Birchas Rechava, the street blessing, because while they were eating the meal on the street, there was a special bracha that was given to the mourners. You don't do it if the one who passed was an eved or a shivcha. Nor v'tanchumei avelim, nor do you offer the traditional words of condolences. Habakim Menachem. What did the Sfardim say? Min hashamayim tenacham. Maisa shivcha shel Rabbi Eliezer. V'nichnasu talmidav lenachmai. The students wanted to be menachemim. Kivin shura oisim, when he saw them, he felt it's not right to accept tanchumim, nor to give tanchumim for an eved. He didn't want to tell the students don't do it. So he walked out of that environment. And he was hoping that they'll get the hint. They didn't get it. Aliyah, he went to the second story. They went after him. An piloin. He went into the an piloin. Zakt Rashi, it was an antechamber. Bayis cotton shalifning taraklim. Nichnasu achrav. They were running after him. Nichnasu taraklim. He went into the main room. Nichnasu achrav. So he turns around and Amar Lahem and he tells them, Kemaduma ani, I thought, Sha'atem nichvim, that you would get scalded, you'll get burnt, even with lukewarm waters. In other words, you'll get a hint. The moment I began to walk away, you should have chapped that there's a reason why I'm going away. But not you're going after me from one room to the other room to the other room. I see that even with hot water, you don't get burnt. Achshav iyata nichma fila b'chamichamin. Loi kach shenisi lachem, avada mushvachais ein oim dem aleim b'shura. Ve'ein oimrim aleim birchas avelim. V'veloi tanchumei avelim. Avol oivazoi ma oimrim aleim. What should you console someone who lost the eved or a shivcha? They tell him, Keshem sho'oimrim loi la'adam. The same words you tell a person who loses his shoyres chamoy. What are you supposed to tell him? It's very important. It's the relationship that we have with things is very different than the relationship we have with people. Not that an eved and a shivcha is not a person, but I want to explain about the relationship. There are things that cannot be replaced, and there are things that could be replaced. The real mourning of a loss of the 7 close relatives is that they are irreplaceable. A shoyer and a chamoyer is replaceable. So fakir, the tanchumim is, may God replace that which you lost. What do you tell them? That hamakim yamali l'cha chesroincha. You lost, there's a lack, it should be replaced. Hashem doesn't want that in the times of Avadim and Shvachis, the relationship we have with them is such that we should feel that they are irreplaceable. That's not the type of relationship we have to have with them. Today you have to say this to people who have pets. And tell people that's not healthy to have a relationship that you should feel that it's irreplaceable. It's a loss, but then Hashem should replace it. However, let's go back to our Mishnah. But if your eved or shivcha are talmidei chachamim, that's the whole word. That's why you accepted tanchumin. It's if they have in them something infinite, then it's an irreplaceable loss. Then chaval da'avdan d'lei mishtakchen. Perfect. Tanya idach avadim u'shvachais.
In the Mishnah, it's like nechma veil.
Yes, that's what. If the eved himself doesn't have in him something greater. If it's the 7 close relatives is, God forbid, a father, mother, wife, brother, sister, son, and daughter. That's irreplaceable. Everything else is replaceable. Under mourning is not respectful. Over mourning is not healthy. Hashem does not want us to bond relationships with anything other than that in a ba'oifen that it's replaceable. No, in eved kosher, if he's an eved kosher, then he's taki irreplaceable. Then oimrim alav, hoi is oi vai voi, the Aramish. Ish toiv, what a good man, vin neman and trustworthy, vin enemy yigiyoi, and he derived benefit only from his own labor. Right, the Maila we learned about Shmuel Haramasi, the Alter Rebbe's father. Amrullah, so they told Rabbi Yossi, if all of these words are said for an eved kosher, Im kain, mahi nachta l'kshedim. No, why don't you take out a couple of words to have something special to say on a non-evid that's a kosher? But you say he didn't hold that way. No, if the person earned that schus, then be mas with him. Ataka, these qualities are hard to find, but you're mourning for the quality that was lost. Okay, right. Tan Rabbanan ein koren avis elo l'shleisha. Ein koren avis elo l'shleisha. Not to the tribes, right? In other words, Maisa avis simul abanim is said only by the avis. Every yid has to be similar to Abraham. Has to say Masa Yegia, Maisa la Maisa Voisai. Even though we understand that they are much greater than us, but there is something in the avis that is inside every single Jew. When it comes to the tribes, it's not that way. Even though we also learned that there's Me'en Zed, there's a certain Iskalalus, but it's not B'chlal on the level that it is by the avis. Ve'ein kareni mois, el la'arba. Now there's a big kasha here. Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, we are all biological descendants from all three. We are not all biological descendants from the four Imois. We all come from Sarah. We all come from Rivka. But who are the other two? Rachel and Leah. Lavdavka. Rachel and Leah. Maybe we come from Rachel, maybe we come from Leah. It means Rachel and Bila and Leah and Zilpah. Oh, says the Gemara, Avis my Talmud, only Avis Ilay Mishum de Lo Yadinan. That's why Avis and not the Shvatim. Because we don't know whether if we come from Reuven or from Shimon, Kasina, Ihachi, Moisnami lo Yadan and Imirachel Kasina Mele Kasina. Answers the Gemara, Ella, it's not about biological. It's a ruchnis de kabman. Ella at hache, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, they are chashive, relative to the Shvatim, the way Chassidut says, that in us has to be all of their ways of serving God. Lav Dafke, every Yid, is on the path of Reuven or of Shimon. Tvei loy chashiva. But when it comes to Rachel and Leah, every Yid has to have in them Rachel and Leah. And now we learn very clearly that Leah is the concept of Bina. Leah's Hey Ilah. Rachel is Hey Tata. We have the koyach of Bina and godliness from Leah. The koyach of action we have from Rachel. That's inside every Jew, even if he or she is not a biological descendant from both. We're not. It's either one or the other. Tanya Idach, Avada Mishvachais. But ein koiden oisam Abba Pliny. They used to give a title before they gave a person's name. Father so and so. In English, Mr. so and so. You never do that for Eved or Shifcha. The Ima Ploinus. Now, why don't you give them that title? It's because of the behavior of general Avada Mushvachis. Don't be machshiv people that you don't need to emulate. And if that's the case, if there's an Eved and a Shifcha that have Gavaldike behavior, then do give them a title. V'shal Rabban Gamliel, hoyu kaiden oisen Abba Ploini or the Ima Ploinis. Frek Gemara, Maisa Lister. No, you give a din and you tell me a story that goes in the opposite. No, it's a hemshich of the din. It's like Bamed Varam Amurim. Mishum, it's not about the person, it's about what they represent. Give titles to that which you look up to. If it's nothing to look up to, and even if it's not to look down to, don't be machshiv. Every society has to know what to celebrate. Let's hop on a few more lines. Omar Abulazar. What's the meaning of the pasuk in Tehillim Samach Beis? That Kain Avorecha Chabachai, thus I shall bless you all of my life. Bachaya means all of my life. B'shimcha esa kapai, in your name I shall lift my hands. What's the pshat? Kain Avorecha Chabachai. When do we bless God with all of our lives? What does that refer to? That refers to Kriya Shema. Why is Kriya Shema all of our lives? Look at this. B'shimcha esa kapai, in your name I will lift up my hands. That refers to Tefilla. Says the Marsha, Chidush Nifla, says like this, Kain Avorecha B'chayai, the Iker Kriya Shema. Yeah, says the Marsha, goes on the fact that a person is chayiv to learn Torah by day and by night. So you say the Shema by day and by night. What is Torah? Kehem Chayenu. Chayenu. So with my life, which is Torah here, means Kriya Shema. B'shimcha esa kapoi. What does that mean? With your name I lift up my hands. Says the Marsha, beautiful. That goes to davening. Because davening, I'm not davening for me. Even though you have that in the Tefilla. I'm davening for you. Like when it comes to a korban. You offer an oil. It's not for me. We don't need a korban. So, imagine, with my life, that means I got to learn Torah day and night. When do we do that minimally? By reading the Shema. Davening has to be with the kavanah. I'm davening for your name, not for my name. Zu Tefilla. Whenever you do the irony, whenever you serve God, lishma. Oh, now I'll tell you the reward. Right? It's going to be with fats and with abundance that your soul will be satiated. When you learn Torah every day and you don't daven for yourself, then God rewards you for yourself. But don't do it for that. And both Ba'ilam Haz and Ilam Haba, because it says in the Hemshech of this pasuk, V'sif say Renonois. Renonois is singing in plural. Yahalal Pi. What's the plural? And Ilam Haz and Ilam Haba, God willing to be continued.
Didn't the middle of the last Mishnah contradict?
Yes, that's everything we learned today. You contradicted.